The emergence of the Star Weaver from quantum space sent ripples through every sensor array in the Concordat defense grid. Commander Elena Santos watched through the bridge's panoramic viewport as the massive vessel's crystalline hull refracted starlight in impossible patterns. The ship, if one could even call it that, represented humanity's greatest achievement. A vessel grown from living crystal, powered by thought and will as much as antimatter. Multiple targeting locks detected, announced Lieutenant Maya Chen, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The Concordat's orbital platforms are charging weapons. Elena allowed herself a small smile. After 300 years of self-imposed exile, humanity's return was bound to cause a stir. The Concordat, a loose federation of 17 spacefaring species, had built their civilization in humanity's absence, expanding across the stars while dismissing stories of Earth as mere legend. "Send the recognition codes," Elena ordered. "The ones from before our exodus." "They won't recognize them," Maya replied, but complied nonetheless. "Those protocols haven't been used in centuries." The response was immediate. Every warning light in the Concordat's defense grid turned green, then purple, colors that hadn't been used in military communications since humanity's departure. Ancient subroutines, buried deep in alien computers, stirred to life. "Well," Elena mused, "at least their automated systems remember us, even if their people don't." The main communications array lit up with incoming transmissions. The Concordat's ruling council, an assembly of representatives from each member species, was scrambling to make sense of what their defense systems were telling them. Elena straightened her uniform, a seamless garment that shifted colors like oil on water, its surface embedded with quantum processors that linked her directly to the Star Weaver's consciousness. Accept transmission from the highest-ranking official. A holographic display materialized, revealing High Chancellor Zixtal of the Meridani, a being composed of interlocking geometric shapes that constantly rearranged themselves in complex patterns. The crystalline entities had risen to prominence in the last century, their mathematical nature making them natural leaders in an increasingly digital galaxy. "Unknown vessel," Zixtal's translated voice resonated through the bridge. "You have triggered ancient protocols that haven't been activated in 300 years. Identify yourself immediately." Elena stepped forward, her augmented eyes gathering data about the Meridani's current technological level, even as she spoke. "This is Commander Elena Santos of the Earth vessel Star Weaver. We've returned from our exile, High Chancellor. Though it seems the galaxy has forgotten us, we never forgot our responsibilities." The geometric patterns of Zixtal's form froze momentarily. The Meridani equivalent of shock. Earth, the mythical homeworld of the precursors. Impossible. The precursors vanished centuries ago, leaving only ruins and stories. "We didn't vanish," Elena corrected firmly. "We chose isolation to advance, to prepare. While the galaxy built its civilization on the foundations we left behind, we pushed the boundaries of what was possible. And now we've returned because we're needed." "Needed?" Zixtal's form shifted skeptically. "The Concordat maintains peace across 12,000 light years. What could possibly?" "Show them," Elena commanded. Maya activated the Star Weaver's primary sensor array. The holographic display expanded, showing the galaxy in perfect detail, but with an overlay of information no Concordat sensor had ever detected. In the spaces between the stars, in the very fabric of space-time itself, patterns were forming. Dark, geometric shapes that defied normal physics were beginning to align. What are we seeing?" Zixtal demanded. "The reason we left," Elena explained. 300 years ago, we detected the first signs of what we came to call the geometry, a cosmic pattern that occurs once every 1,000 millennia. The last time it formed, it wiped out the civilization that preceded us all. We've spent 3 centuries preparing to prevent that from happening again." The bridge fell silent as Zixtal processed this information. Elena could almost see the calculations running through the High Chancellor's crystalline form. These readings, Zixtel finally spoke, they're unlike anything our science can detect. How can we verify? You can't, Alina interrupted. Not with your current technology. But we didn't come to debate or convince. We came to prepare you. The geometry will fully align in less than one standard year. When it does, reality itself will begin to break down. We need to start working together now if any of us are to survive what's coming. The Starweaver's hull pulsed with internal light, its crystalline structure resonating with Alina's conviction. The vessel itself was proof of how far humanity had advanced. A ship that was also a living being, created through science that would seem like magic to the current Concordat. The Council will need to convene, Zixtel said carefully, to discuss these claims. Of course, Alina nodded. But remember, while you discuss, the pattern continues to form. We'll remain in orbit. When you're ready to listen, we'll be here. We've spent 3 centuries learning how to fight mathematics itself, High Chancellor. Now we've returned to teach others to do the same. As the transmission ended, Alina turned to Maya. Status of the defense grid. Still active, but Maya paused, checking her readings. They've adjusted their targeting parameters. They're scanning us now, trying to understand what we are. Good. Alina smiled. Curiosity is the first step toward acceptance. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Showing up after 300 years, claiming to be humanity returned from myth, warning about a threat they can't even perceive. But we'll convince them, ship by ship, world by world if we have to. We didn't spend 3 centuries advancing our civilization just to watch this one fall. The Starweaver continued its orbit around the Concordat capital world, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. Stars that humanity had once helped protect, and would soon protect again. The galaxy might have forgotten, but humanity remembered. And this time, they weren't just returning as equals. They were returning as saviors. The Concordat's Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with a cacophony of voices, both organic and synthetic. Representatives from 17 species filled the towering chamber, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves. High Chancellor Zixtel's crystalline form presided over the emergency session from a platform that hovered above the central floor. Commander Alina Santos stood at the speaker's podium, her quantum-enhanced uniform absorbing and adapting to the various wavelengths of light and radiation emanating from the assembled delegates. The Starweaver's presence could be felt even here, its vast consciousness linked to her through the neural interfaces woven into her cerebral cortex. The data is clear, Alina projected, her voice carrying easily through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The geometry is not a theory or a myth. It is a fundamental pattern in the structure of space-time itself, and it's approaching completion. The holographic display behind her showed the complex mathematical models humanity had spent centuries perfecting. To most of the assembled representatives, it looked like abstract art. Beautiful, but meaningless. Impossible. The declaration came from Ambassador Krall of the Vex Dominion, his insectoid mandibles clicking in agitation. Our civilization has mapped every quantum fluctuation in this sector. We would have detected such a pattern. Alina's augmented eyes focused on the Vex ambassador. Your quantum sensors are based on technology we left behind 3 centuries ago. The geometry exists in dimensions your science hasn't even theorized yet. Convenient, Krall chittered. You return from myth itself, bearing warnings of invisible doom that only you can see. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. Alina had expected this resistance. 300 years of scientific advancement had created a gulf between human understanding and the rest of the galaxy that wouldn't be easily bridged. The Starweaver, Alina said quietly, is itself proof of what humanity has achieved. Your sensors can't even classify what it's made of, can they? The chamber fell silent. It was true. The living crystalline ship had confounded every analysis the Concordat scientists had attempted. High Chancellor Zixtel's geometric form shifted in thought patterns. You speak of preparation, Commander Santos. What exactly are you proposing? Elena gestured, and the holographic display changed. We need to upgrade your sensor networks first. Without the ability to detect the geometry, you'll never believe the threat is real. We're prepared to share some of our technological advances, enough to let you see what we see. Share technology. Ambassador Krell's antennae twitched. And what do you want in return? Your cooperation, Elena replied simply. The geometry isn't just a threat to one species or sector. When it fully aligns, it will begin unraveling the fundamental forces that hold reality together. Stopping it will require resources and coordination on a scale that humanity alone cannot provide. A new voice joined the debate, this one belonging to Director Silara of the Aquilian Science Council, her holographic form shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. You claim humanity spent 3 centuries preparing for this threat. Why return now? Why not stay in your isolation and handle it yourselves? Elena's expression softened slightly. Because last time we faced an existential threat, the Nexus swarm that your histories have forgotten, we nearly destroyed ourselves, saving everyone else. We learned from that. We learned that survival isn't enough if it comes at the cost of losing our humanity. She touched a control on her uniform, and the holographic display shifted again, showing a simulation of what would happen when the geometry completed its pattern. The assembly watched in horrified fascination as space itself began to fracture in the simulation, fundamental forces breaking down, reality tearing apart at the seams. We could try to stop this alone, Elena continued. But even if we succeeded, the galaxy would remain vulnerable to the next cosmic threat. We didn't spend 3 centuries advancing just to become distant guardians. We came back to teach, to help this civilization rise to its full potential. High Chancellor Zixel's form restructured itself into a pattern that Elena's neural interface recognized as deep contemplation. You offer to share advanced technology with species you barely know. Some might call that dangerously naive. We don't offer everything, Elena clarified. Just enough to let you see the threat, and to help fight it. Humanity learned hard lessons about sharing technology too freely in our past. But we've also learned that keeping knowledge hoarded out of fear is just another path to extinction. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions, each species debating among themselves and with their neighbors. Elena stood patiently at the podium, letting them process the magnitude of what she was proposing. Finally, High Chancellor Zixtal raised an appendage for silence. The Council will need to deliberate on your proposal, Commander. But first, we require a demonstration. Show us this geometry in a way our current science can verify. Elena smiled. This was the opening she had hoped for. The Starweaver can temporarily extend its sensory field to encompass this entire station. You'll be able to see what we see, if only for a few minutes. I must warn you, though, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Knowledge of the geometry changes everything. Proceed, Zixtal commanded. Elena closed her eyes, connecting fully with the Starweaver's consciousness. Throughout the station, every screen, every holographic display, every sensory input device suddenly began receiving data from dimensions they were never designed to process. For a brief moment, the assembled representatives of the Concordat saw reality as humanity had learned to see it. And in the spaces between spaces, in patterns that defied conventional geometry, they saw it forming, the vast, incomprehensible shape that threatened to unmake everything they knew. The chamber stayed silent for a long time after the demonstration ended. Finally, High Chancellor Zixtal spoke, their crystalline forms still trembling from the revelation. The Council will convene an emergency session. Commander Santos, humanity's warning has been received. Now we must decide how to act upon it. Elena nodded solemnly. The first step had been taken. The galaxy was beginning to remember why humanity had once been both respected and feared. Now came the harder part, teaching them how to face what was coming. The distress call came while the Concordat Council was still debating humanity's warning. Commander Elena Santos felt it through her neural link with the Starweaver, before the Concordat sensors even detected the signal. A mining colony in the Carina sector, facing imminent disaster. Multiple quantum fractures detected, Maya reported from her station. The colony's antimatter containment fields are failing. Their power core is destabilizing. Elena accessed the sensor data through her neural interface. The colony, home to over 50,000 Concordat citizens, had about 20 minutes before catastrophic failure. The nearest Concordat rescue vessel was 2 hours away. The Council hasn't authorized any intervention, Maya reminded her quietly. Elena's lips curved into a determined smile. They haven't forbidden it either. Plot a quantum jump. Let's show them what humanity can do. The Starweaver responded to her thoughts, its crystalline structure vibrating with anticipation. In normal space, the colony was 6 light hours away, but space itself bent around the living ship as it prepared to jump. Alert the Council of our intentions, Elena ordered, but we're not waiting for permission. The Starweaver folded space around itself, diving through dimensions that the Concordat science couldn't even detect. They emerged directly above the mining colony. A massive structure carved into an asteroid, now wreathed in the tealful purple glow of failing containment fields. Colony Control, this is Commander Santos of the Earth vessel Starweaver. We're here to help. The response came in a panic of overlapping voices and static. Elena filtered it through her neural interface, extracting the relevant information. The colony's main reactor had suffered a quantum cascade failure after hitting an unexpected mineral deposit. Their containment technology, based on principles humanity had transcended centuries ago, was rapidly deteriorating. Maya, extend our quantum field around their reactor core. Full spectrum containment. Through the viewport, streams of crystalline energy flowed from the Starweaver, enveloping the failing reactor in a web of light that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Elena felt the strain through her neural link. Even for their advanced technology, containing a runaway antimatter reaction wasn't trivial. Colony administrators, she broadcast, we've temporarily stabilized your reactor, but we need to implement a permanent solution. I'm sending over a team. Elena nodded to Maya, who activated the ship's matter transmission system, another technology that would seem like magic to the current Concordat. 4 human engineers materialized directly inside the colony's reactor control room, their quantum-enhanced environmental suits adapting instantly to the local conditions. Through her neural link, Elena could see through their eyes, guide their actions. The colonial technicians stared in awe as the human engineers moved with impossible speed and precision, their tools manipulating matter at the quantum level to repair the failing reactor. Incredible, one of the colonial administrators breathed. Your people are doing in minutes what our best engineers said would take days. And without evacuating the colony, Elena added, which would have been impossible in the time you had. The Starweaver's sensors detected multiple ships emerging from quantum space, Concordat vessels arriving in response to the emergency. Among them was a diplomatic shuttle carrying several council members who had clearly decided to witness humanity's intervention personally. Commander Santos, High Chancellor Zixtel's voice, came through on a priority channel. You acted without authorization. We acted to save lives, Elena corrected calmly. 50,000 of your citizens would have died waiting for authorization. The geometry won't wait for bureaucracy either. Through the viewport, Elena could see her engineers finishing their work. The reactor's containment field stabilized, now reinforced with principles of quantum engineering that the colony scientists would spend years trying to understand. You said you came to teach. Ambassador Krell's voice joined the channel. Yet you solve our problems with technology we can't even comprehend. Elena turned her full attention to the diplomatic channel. The reactor is now stable, but we've left detailed documentation of the principles we used, scaled to your civilization's current understanding. You won't be able to duplicate our quantum manipulation immediately, but you'll understand the theoretical framework. It's a first step. The human engineers rematerialized on the Starweaver's bridge, their mission complete. Elena could feel the colony's systems through her neural link. The reactor was now operating at higher efficiency than ever before, using principles that bridged the gap between current concordat science and humanity's advanced understanding. We didn't just prevent a disaster. Elena addressed the council members. We've given you a practical demonstration of the kind of advancement we're offering. The geometry is a threat beyond your current ability to perceive, let alone fight. But it doesn't have to stay that way. She gestured, and the Starweaver's sensors displayed the quantum fracture patterns that had caused the reactor failure. But behind them, in dimensions that only humanity's science could detect, the larger pattern of the geometry was continuing to form. Today it was a reactor failure that threatened 50,000 lives. Elena continued. Soon it will be entire sectors of space becoming uninhabitable as reality itself begins to break down. We can help you advance quickly enough to face that threat, but only if you're willing to learn. High Chancellor Zixtal's crystalline form shifted through complex patterns before responding. The Council will convene an emergency session to review today's events. Your intervention has provided much to consider. Elena nodded, knowing that humanity's display of technological superiority would provoke both awe and fear. It was a delicate balance. Demonstrating enough power to prove their warnings should be heeded, while not appearing so advanced that they seemed like a threat themselves. The Starweaver hummed with satisfied energy around her. Today they had saved 50,000 lives, and planted the seeds of understanding that might help save trillions more. It was a start. We'll return to our designated orbit, Elena informed the Council. When you're ready to begin learning, we'll be waiting. As the Starweaver prepared to jump back to the capital, Elena allowed herself a moment of hope. The galaxy was beginning to remember not just what humanity had been, but what they had become. The question now was whether they would accept the help they so desperately needed before it was too late. 3 months after the mining colony incident, the first visible signs of the geometry's influence began to appear. Elena stood in the Starweaver's observation dome, watching as reality itself shimmered and distorted around a distant star system. The ship's quantum sensors painted an even more disturbing picture. Spacetime was beginning to unravel at the subatomic level. The Helios system is gone, Maya reported, her voice heavy. 2 billion Meridani, just, erased from existence. The distortion pattern matched our projections exactly. The loss hit Elena hard, even though they'd predicted it. The Helios system had been the first to show signs of quantum instability. Despite humanity's warnings, the Concordat's bureaucracy had delayed evacuation until it was too late. High Chancellor Zixtal is requesting an emergency conference, Maya added. The entire council has assembled. Put them through to the observation dome, Elena commanded. They need to see this with their own eyes. The air shimmered as holographic representations of the council materialized around her. Many of them recoiled at the visual evidence of the Helios system's destruction, a spreading void in space where reality itself had come undone. 2 billion of my people, Zixtal's crystalline form vibrated with grief and rage. Gone because we didn't act quickly enough. Because some of us didn't believe quickly enough. Ambassador Celara of the Aquilians corrected, her bioluminescent patterns flashing with accusation. The humans warned us. They showed us proof, but we wasted months debating whether to trust them. And how many systems will be lost while we continue to depend on their protection? Ambassador Krell countered. They save us with technology we can't understand, then expect us to learn at their pace, perhaps if they shared their quantum engineering secrets directly. We've been over this, Elena interrupted firmly. Giving you technology you're not ready to understand would be like giving antimatter weapons to a pre-industrial civilization. The results would be catastrophic. The observation dome filled with overlapping arguments as the council devolved into familiar factions. Elena had spent months watching these divisions deepen. Those who wanted to trust humanity completely, those who refused to trust them at all, and those caught in between. Enough. Elena's enhanced voice cut through the chaos. The Starweaver responded to her emotion, its crystalline structure resonating in harmony with her words. While you argue, The geometry continues to spread. Our models project 12 more systems will be affected within the month. She gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show the pattern of the geometry spreading across the galaxy. It was beautiful in its awful symmetry, a cosmic cancer eating away at the fabric of existence. We've begun evacuating the most threatened systems, Elena continued, but the Star Weaver can't be everywhere at once. We need the Concordat's full cooperation to save as many lives as possible. And what of the defense system you promised? High Chancellor Zixtal demanded. The one that could supposedly halt the geometry's advance. The quantum barrier network is ready for testing, Elena confirmed, but it requires precise coordination between multiple points in space. We need the Concordat ships, your resources, your people trained in the basic principles we've been teaching. Working alone, humanity can save some systems. Working together, we might save them all. A new voice joined the debate. Admiral Voss of the Concordat Defense Fleet, his holographic form bearing the scars of recent battles against quantum anomalies. My ships have been working with the human quantum engineers. Their methods are unconventional, but effective. We've managed to stabilize 3 systems showing early signs of geometric corruption. At what cost? Ambassador Krell chittered. How many ships have we lost to these experiments? How many crews have vanished into these quantum anomalies? Fewer than we would have lost doing nothing, Admiral Voss countered. The humans have sacrificed too. Or have you forgotten the Star Weaver's sister ship that was lost saving the Rigel colonies? Elena's jaw tightened at the memory. The Lightbringer and its crew of 300 had given their lives to contain a geometric outbreak that would have claimed millions. It was the kind of sacrifice humanity had always been willing to make, but one they hoped to prevent others from having to repeat. The barrier network must be ready within 2 weeks, Elena addressed the council. After that, the geometry's expansion becomes exponential. We've provided the knowledge, the basic principles, everything you need to help us build it. But we need unity. We need trust. Trust. Ambassador Krell's mandibles clicked skeptically. You ask us to trust beings who appear from legend with godlike powers, warning of threats only they can see. No, Elena corrected. We ask you to trust the evidence of your own senses. The Helios system is gone. 12 more will follow. How many people must die before the Concordat stops debating and starts acting? High Chancellor Zixtal's form shifted through complex patterns before settling into a configuration Elena had learned to recognize as resignation mixed with determination. The Council will vote on full implementation of the Barrier Network project. Immediately. Thank you. Elena nodded. But remember, the geometry doesn't care about votes. Reality itself is breaking down. We either stand together or we fall separately. As the council members' holograms faded, Elena turned back to the viewport. The void where the Helios system had been continued to spread, a cosmic wound that no current Concordat technology could heal. Humanity had returned to prevent this very scenario, but they couldn't save everyone alone. The real question was whether the Concordat would overcome its fears and divisions in time to save itself. The geometry was awakening, reality was unraveling, and the clock was ticking down to humanity's greatest tests since their return from exile. The quantum barrier network was beautiful in its complexity. Hundreds of ships positioned at precise coordinates throughout Concordat space, each projecting fields of energy that existed in dimensions beyond normal spacetime. Through her neural link with the Star Weaver, Elena could feel the entire network humming with potential, waiting to be activated. Final systems check complete, Maya reported from her station. All Concordat vessels report ready. The geometric anomaly will reach critical convergence in 6 minutes. Elena surveyed the tactical display showing the combined fleet, the largest assembly of ships in Concordat history. The geometry's pattern had accelerated faster than their models predicted, threatening to tear reality apart across dozens of systems simultaneously. This was their last chance to contain it. Open channel to all ships, Elena commanded. The Starweaver's communications array connected her to every vessel in the network, from the newest Concordat quantum frigates to ancient mining ships retrofitted with barrier projectors. This is Commander Santos. In 5 minutes, we'll attempt to contain the largest geometric anomaly yet detected. Every ship, every crew member knows their role. We've trained for this. We've prepared for this. Humanity stands with you today, not as saviors, but as equals in the fight to preserve our shared reality. Through the viewport, she could see the geometry's effect on normal space, a kaleidoscopic fracturing of stars and light that hurt the eyes to look at directly. But through the Starweaver's quantum sensors, she could see its true form, a pattern of impossible mathematics trying to impose itself on reality. 2 minutes to convergence, Maya announced. Geometric corruption at 70% of predicted maximum. High Chancellor Zixtel's voice came through on a priority channel. Commander, the Council's emergency session has concluded. We've voted to grant you full authority over the combined fleet for this operation. Elena nodded grimly. After months of debate and division, it had taken the imminent destruction of their civilization to finally unite the Concordat. Acknowledged, Chancellor. All ships, begin power-up sequence for barrier projection. The fleet came alive with energy as hundreds of ships activated the quantum technology humanity had helped them adapt. It wasn't as advanced as the Starweaver's systems, but it didn't need to be. They just needed to hold the line long enough. Geometric convergence in 60 seconds, Maya reported. Pattern corruption accelerating beyond predicted rates. Elena felt it through her neural link. Reality itself screaming as it was torn apart by forces it was never meant to contain. The Starweaver's crystalline structure vibrated in sympathy, its living consciousness recoiling from the wrongness of what was happening to spacetime. All ships, final positions, Elena ordered. Barrier activation in 30 seconds. Remember your training. Don't look directly at the anomaly. Focus on your instruments, trust your sensors. The countdown seemed to stretch forever as Elena watched the geometric pattern approach completion. Everything humanity had worked for over 3 centuries had led to this moment. Their return, their warnings, their teaching. It would all mean nothing if they failed here. Pattern convergence in 10 seconds, Maya called out. 9, 8. Elena took a deep breath, connecting more deeply with the Starweaver's consciousness. Around her, she could feel the awareness of every ship in the network, every crew member fighting to save their reality. 3, 2, 1. Convergence. All ships. Barriers up now. Elena commanded. The fleet acted as one. Hundreds of quantum barriers sprang to life, each one precisely calibrated to reinforce the others. The network formed a vast geometric pattern of their own, one designed to counter and contain the cosmic cancer trying to unmake reality. Through her neural link, Elena felt the strain immediately. The geometry fought against their containment, its impossible mathematics trying to break through the quantum barriers. Ships began reporting power fluctuations as their retrofitted systems struggled to maintain the fields. Barrier integrity at 80% and falling, Maya reported. The pattern is stronger than we predicted. Elena gritted her teeth, pushing more power through the Starweaver's systems. Reroute emergency power to the primary nodes. We need to hold it just long enough for the pattern to destabilize. Commander, Admiral Voss's voice cut through the chaos. My ships are losing containment in Sector 7. The geometry is breaking through. Elena's augmented eyes scanned the tactical display, calculating possibilities faster than any normal human could. They were losing the battle. The barrier network wasn't strong enough to contain the fully formed pattern. Unless, Maya, prepare to reconfigure the Starweaver's quantum core. Transfer all command functions to my neural interface. Maya's eyes widened as she realized what her commander was planning. Elena, no. The ship's consciousness won't survive that kind of power transfer. You might not either. Better to lose one ship than watch reality itself unravel, Elena replied calmly. The Starweaver agrees. Don't argue. That's an order. Before anyone could stop her, Elena opened her neural connection to its fullest extent. The Starweaver's consciousness flooded into her mind as she merged completely with the living ship. Together, they began converting their entire quantum core into pure containment energy. All ships, adjust your barrier frequencies to match the Starweaver's output, Elena commanded, her voice harmonizing with the ship's crystalline resonance. We're going to give you the power you need, but you have to hold the pattern. The Starweaver's hull began to glow as its very substance was converted into quantum energy. Elena felt the ship's pain, its fear, its determination. They had known it might come to this, known that saving reality might require the ultimate sacrifice. Barrier network stabilizing, Maya reported, her voice thick with emotion. Geometric pattern beginning to degrade. It's working. Elena could feel the Starweaver's systems failing as more and more of its substance was converted to energy. The ship's consciousness began to fade from her mind, but its final emotions were of satisfaction, of completion. They had returned to save the galaxy, and they had succeeded. Commander, High Chancellor Zixtel's voice carried genuine concern. The Starweaver's structural integrity is failing. You need to evacuate. No, Elena replied serenely, at peace with what was happening. I am the Starweaver now. We finish this together. The barrier network flared with impossible brightness as the Starweaver gave the last of its energy. The geometry's pattern finally broke. Its impossible mathematics scattered back into the quantum foam from which it had emerged. Reality was saved. The price was merely one ship, one crew, one commander who had helped the galaxy remember why humanity had once been its greatest defenders. The Starweaver's crystalline hull dissolved into pure light, its consciousness fading into quantum space along with its commander. Their sacrifice would be remembered not just as the day humanity saved the galaxy, but as the day they taught it to save itself. In the years that followed, the Concordat would rebuild, strengthened by the knowledge humanity had shared. They would advance their civilization not through fear or division, but through unity and understanding. And they would never forget again the species that had returned from legend, not to rule them, but to guide them toward their own greatness. Humanity had come home. And though the Starweaver and its brave crew were gone, their legacy would live on in every ship that sailed the quantum seas, in every civilization that looked up at the stars and remembered who had helped them survive to see another dawn. The galaxy had remembered. And this time, it would never forget.